Mic'd up.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Yankees Coast to Coast. We've got him, another guy, and me, your host. Actually, I want to welcome Dan Kramer. Kramer, that's Kramuh, not ER, Kramer. And our friend, of course, my wonderful partner in crime, Michael Miller.
You just want to share a jail cell with me because you know when you bend over for the soap, I won't go near you.
Woohoo! Don't stop. Okay, so we're gonna be talking about Yankees. Why don't we fix this team? What do they need to do? What are the things that make? What do the Yankees have to do to make?
I'd like to ask Kramer how he's doing first. Can we ask Kramer how he's doing first?
Kramer, how was your last colostum or your last? What was it? Did you have a procedure recently? Colostomy bag or something? What was it?
He had a double vasectomy.
Oh, really? Wow. What was that like?
He now has 2 vaginas. As opposed to a vasectomy, he has a bisectomy.
You can see there's nothing there.
Nothing up my nose.
Kramer, how's your health? Are you feeling good?
Fine.
Have you started gearing up for camp yet, Kramer?
I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm ready. Man of many words.
That's good. I'll keep the show quick because we have too much to cover. So here's the plan for today, and I'm sure we'll screw this up. We both talked about this last time, Adam, and Kramer, you know this as well because we've talked about it. Everything's on hold until Soto decision is made, whether it's Soto going someplace else, Soto signing with the Yankees, or the Yankees saying to Soto, sorry, we can't wait anymore. Nothing is going to happen. And there's a pretty good chance nothing happens for anybody until Soto signs, right? So the Yankees have to have 2 plans. If they sign Soto, and if they don't sign Soto. So the first thing to talk about, and Adam, you're going to get pissed at me. We all know the Yankees are not cheap, but the Yankees will not go over the Steve Cohen tax threshold of $301 million. Adam, do you want to comment on that?
No, I think you're right. I think it's bad. It's sad. It's upsetting. They are the wealthiest team in the history of sports.
No, they're not. The soccer teams are more.
Soccer teams.
As are the Cowboys.
Soccer. I'm talking about sports.
Cowboys. The Cowboys are wealthier.
The Cowboys are wealthier than the Yankees?
Cowboys are worth over $10 billion. Yankees are over $7 billion.
All right. They have plenty of money. They can afford to do this. They have the ability to make up money, to print money. They do that with everything that they do. Every player they bring in creates derivative value, and the players
derivative value. You accountant, you.
Yeah, it's time to see that for what it is. They can afford it, but they don't want to, and that's okay. I get it. They're family. This is the family business. As I love, Michael Kay always talks about this.
It's a family.
He always says
it's a family business.
That this is all they have. This is what they met. This is what they make their money.
No more shipping business. No more race horses. No more. Nothing.
Yeah, it's like Trump.
Trump's got plenty. I mean, he's got licensing his name, but I don't want to talk about that because it'll just upset me. Anyhow, at the end of 24, the Yankees were at $279 million in payroll, which was below the $300 million number they wanted. Good news, no more Donaldson and his $21 million. Hicks' 10 is gone, but he's at 8 next year. Bader, did you know the Yankees are paying Bader $4 million? Caleb Ferguson, 1.6. J.D. Davis, 1.3. Various others at 1.4, which means they had $39.3 million of dead money.
They picked up J.D. Davis's option or his salary. What a deal.
Well, they caught him in the middle of the year.
Great deal, Cash. You were really thinking there.
Anyhow, so for 25, the number goes from 39.3 from 24 down to 14.7, which is 8.7 of Hicks and $6 million of Rizzo. Mm-hmm. So that gives them an extra $15 million of not dead money. So they saved, $25 million of not dead money. According to Sports Track, which is what I've been using, the current salaries of the Yankees and their estimated arbitration is $234 million, which is $45 million less than 24 and $67 million less than the cone tax, which is what we're going to use.
Mm.
So that means the Yanks have $67 million to play with, but they could get some more savings. You ready? These are the guys that are arbitration eligible. Nestor, estimated $8.3 million. I think they go to arbitration with Nestor. What do you guys think?
Graham?
I know Kramer's answer. Say, Kramer.
Yes.
Are you awake,
Yes,
Kramer?
they either go. Oh, I'm just waiting. They either go to arbitration with them or they agree on the deal. So yes, I think he's back.
So we'll say the 8.3. So the rest of the guys are interesting. Trevino, $3.6 million.
No.
I let him walk, and I have a guy to replace him when we get to catcher talk.
I'd let him walk.
John Birdie, definitely letting the infielder, definitely let him walk. He's useless. He's hurt all the time. He's at $3.5 million. You can't have a guy that doesn't play at $3.5 million. Right? Tim Mesa is at 2.9. I don't like that number for Mesa, but if they can get him cheaper, he's not a guy that is bad. Here's the interesting one. Grisham, 5.1.
I would try to read.
No, I'm with you. No. Go ahead, man. Go ahead, Kramer. Tell us you would try what? A lower number?
Lower number. At a lower number.
He's redundant.
It depends on how the team susses out, but even if he's not redundant, he's not worth $5.1 million. All right, here's a guy that me and Adam talked about last week. JT Brubaker is at $2.3 million.
Wow, good deal. Good pickup, Yanks.
Here's another guy, and I think they're going to go to arbitration with him or get him signed because of the ego of our friend Brian Cashman. Leiter Jr. I don't think they let him go.
I think they like Leiter, and they probably think they can fix him. They can make him even better. They think they can.
He pitched fine in the playoffs.
He did, but he had his moments early. He didn't do well early. He was lucky to get on the. He was an injury replacement, but I think that what he is I think he's a fixable guy, and the price is okay.
2.4.
And he's also, I hate to say it, he's a legacy. So the Yankees tend not to like to get rid of guys.
That's how the three of us get to go back to fantasy camp. And Cashman's never going to let him go because his ego is too frail.
Correct.
For that to happen, right? And then the last one is Ian Hamilton at $1.5 million. And I think as long as the Yankees don't think he's injured, I think he's gonna come back.
At that price, he will.
So based on that, if they could bring back Leiter at 2.4 and Hamilton at 1.5, they're gonna get another $15 million back into their cockles, so that we get into $82 million to spend. But I would, if they can get Mesa for less than $2 million, I'd bring him back as well, because you need the low leverage relievers that you could throw out there to kill some innings that you don't worry about. Leiter's a borderline high leverage, low leverage guy, and he can pitch multi innings. So I would bring those guys back, but that leaves the Yankees now with about $83 million to spend, which is nice. So then the question becomes Soto. Kramer and I talked about it. Adam and you and I have talked about it. Our various text strings have talked about it. Doesn't matter how much he defers or doesn't defer, the average annual value is going to be more than Ohtani's $46 million. So we're looking at $47 million that's going to go to Soto. They estimate on Sports Track and in various articles that he's going to get 14 years at $47 million per. So
roughly half of what they have available will go to one man.
More than half. So the question would leave them with $36 million to spend based on trades and other signings. So what do you guys think? When I started my research for this show, I was firmly in the you got to sign Soto camp. I'm still in that camp, but to be honest with you, remember we talked last week, they've got to make a decision. I want Soto making a decision days at least before the winter meetings, not at the winter meetings or after them. If I'm the Yankees, I'm saying, here's the offer. Take it. Don't take it. Just let us know. It's $47 million. It's more than you're going to get, more than Ohtani got. You're going to be the highest paid player. And if he doesn't take it, let him go.
Well, if I can speak on that, I agree with you. There has to be a time limit, but Soto is the perfect player offensively for not only the Yankees, for any team. The only problem with Soto is he's not a defensive plus and he's not a plus runner. When you have Stanton here and it's not Stanton's fault, you can't DH Soto. So it creates another conundrum. The conundrum
Yeah,
is
but he's not a horrible fielder. He's just
no.
below average.
No,
He's
I didn't say that,
horrible.
but you're taking an above average to elite right fielder, and you're putting him in center where he's average at best, and
He's
that's the
not going to be.
problem.
He's not going to be in center field. No matter what happens next season, he's not going to be in center field. He'll be in left field. And
And
as Adam and I talked about last week, I think you're going to see the Aaron Judge at first base experiment start this
well,
season.
here's the funny thing. I think if you're going to make a first base experiment, I might be more inclined to experiment to see if Soto's on board. I might experiment with him, and this is the reason why. Why take an above average to elite outfielder out of right field? Take the below average to passable outfielder out of the outfield. Put him at first.
to protect him.
An injury.
Well, injuries can happen at any. That's a risk you take with
Yeah,
any
but
spot, any
yeah, but
player.
Soto doesn't get injured ever, and Judge gets injured. Weird injuries, not Stanton type injuries, muscle cramps and
Oh,
menstrual cramps, but Judge gets injured, so let's get him off running around, so you have one less opportunity for him to have a freakish injury.
oh,
Although I could
I
see
took
him
you in.
all of a sudden reaching out for a ball at first base and getting his arm run into, and that would be that. But
Oh,
I
I
think
took.
also at his age, he's he's not going to his athleticism's not going to be getting better at age 37, right? In 3 years, 4 years, his athleticism is not going to be what it is, and Soto's not going to have as big a drop off.
Oh, I took the injury comment a different way, but anyway, I would experiment with Judge. Before Judge, I'd experiment with Soto at first, because you're taking if you're gonna remove an outfielder, remove the passable outfielder, not the above average one.
Well, I still think Judge
I
is
think
going to be
he's
in
too
left
young.
field primarily. So
I think that the Yankees mindset with Judge they've already started this. This is a conversation that they're actively having. When does Judge make the move? The plan is he will be moving to first at some point. First of all, he'll be good at first. I mean, he's 9 feet tall. He's got good hands. He's quick. He's going to be fine. So they probably think that he'll be very effective there. But I think it's a play just to keep him young and healthy for as long as he possibly can. He's going to begin to break down. It's just inevitable. These guys, they don't take steroids anymore. They're not playing to 40 anymore at top tier, 42 anymore, top tier. They begin to diminish. They think they've got 3 years of him at this point, and they're going to start seeing some diminished returns. So they're going to do whatever they can to save his hide and move him close to first. I mean, the reason why I don't go with what you're saying, Kramer, is that I just don't see a 26-year-old being a risk of injury or aging. I think they see him as being an okay outfielder who may still have some upside. He may get better. You know what? Maybe
he's got a good arm.
he could get better. He's a great athlete. Uh, I think that if anything, he's never been anywhere long enough to become really good. I talked to Roy White about this once. At the beginning when Roy went to left field, it was hard, but he got good, and years and years and years of playing left field at Yankee Stadium, he became a very, very good defensive left fielder. And that's what happens. Maybe if he comes on a 15-year contract with the Yankees, they put him in right field or in left field, wherever they put him, he's going to become better. He will get better in left, and he's the kind of guy who cares enough to do it. See, that's the big difference. A lot of these guys, like Glaber, you never felt he gave being a second baseman enough of an importance in his life. This guy is such a competitor. He's going to go out there, and if he has a weakness, he'll become better. So I don't think that's going to be an issue.
I just think Soto's going to be in right field if he's on the Yankees, he'll be in right field
5 years at least
for as many years as. And I think any contract Soto signs has to have an opt out, and I think Boris will like the opt out because if somebody for some strange reason passes Soto dollars wise, they're going to want to get him back out into the market.
Sure, age 31 is a perfect year for him to go. So it'll be like a 4 or 5 year deal that
exactly,
he can pull out. Yankees will be thrilled with that. You see, I think that's a good thing. I like the opt out. I really do. I'm the only one who likes opt outs.
No,
I think it serves the team.
I like the opt out better than I like the opt out much better than what happened with Rizzo this year. But you have to do it with an older player. I think you have to do it the Rizzo way, which is buy him out. because the
Yeah.
older player is always going to opt in.
Yeah, I mean, $6 million is a lot. $6 million is
It's a
big
lot, but it's
opt-out.
better than the 16 they were going to pay him, right?
That's right. Oops, lost you guys for a
All
second.
right, so the two scenarios. So let's just go yes or no. I say yes, they're going to sign Soto. Adam?
I don't. I want him. I want him to be signed. I love him. I think he's an amazing player, but I just think Conan's gonna. To him, it's about the money. I think Conan's gonna go another 10 million, another 50 million, another 100 million, whatever it takes. He's gonna pay it,
What do
and
you
that's
think,
gonna be
Kramer?
where the Yankees will go.
So
out.
you're basically saying the Yankees will offer the 47 to try and get him, but Cohn will say, "Screw off."
They're gonna draw the line, and they're gonna say this is where we can go, and they're gonna ask him to come back. They're gonna say come back with your best offer, and it's gonna be a Robinson Cano thing.
And it's going to be 50 million from Cohn or something like that. What do you think, Kramer?
During the season, I thought it was 2/3 he's back and 1/3 he isn't. Now I'll say it's about 50-50, maybe slightly ahead that he's back, but only slightly.
Why? Why do you think that?
Um,
What's got you thinking that he's more in? He wants to be a Yankee.
what?
Oh, the season he had, and the fact that the Yankees are, despite the 22-23 season, the Yankees are always in the playoffs.
Okay,
That's what.
but the Mets aren't going to do that. The Mets will become the Mets at some point.
Yeah.
Yes, maybe. I think Cohn's money might help them along the way to be more consistent, but I think he wants to be a Yankee because I think he enjoyed the year more than he enjoyed any year that he's had in his career, except for maybe when he won the World Series with Washington. Kramer?
Yeah.
That's why I say I call it 50-50 now, but with a slight edge to him returning, because I think being a Yankee meant something to him.
Okay.
But we'll find out. I mean, if the Yanks are completely blown out of the water by a Steve Cohn offer, okay, well there you go. Then that's going to be the end of it. But
Okay.
I'm not so sure I see that happening.
Your brother
you think
just
the Yankees, so Adam, you think the Yankees offer the 47 that they would need, but Cohn's going to blow it out of the water and he's going to go for the money.
Correct. And
Kramer,
the Yankees will come
offer
in
the 47? You think I think Adam's scenario is actually very realistic. What do you think? What do you think of Adam's scenario? I think it's probably more realistic than the Yankees just signing him.
What was the scenario?
The Yankees offer the 47, but then Cohn offers 50, and he takes the 15.
And then Cohn, the Yankees are given the right of first refusal.
And the
They
Yankees
will
don't
be
do it. The
given
Yankees
the
won't
right.
go to 50.
Yeah. If that happens, then it's unlikely the Yanks match it.
All right. So my brother chimed in, Toad, with a comment right on this particular topic. So let's play this one. Despite you saying I don't play my brother's comments.
You cannot give Soto $50 million a year for 15 years or anything like that, even with an opt-out, because in a few years when there's a strike or a lockout and they lose a whole season of baseball, they're going to come back with a hard cap, and then whoever has him is going to be stuck with him.
I don't ever think baseball's going to have a hard cap.
There'll never be a
players' union is way too strong.
Yeah.
That would be the disagreement I have. I do think the penalties might be increased significantly. But I don't think a hard cap's going to happen, because if you have a hard cap, you're going to have a low, like the NFL does. You have to have a minimum. Like the NHL does, you have to have a minimum. Like the NBA does, you have to have a minimum. And the owners of the smaller market teams are never going to go for that minimum, right? Because the minimum, if the maximum is going to be 325, 330, the minimum's got to be at least 150, 160. And you've got teams like the A's and the Rays and the White Sox and a couple of others. I mean, the A's are looking at a $39 million payroll this year. I mean, let's face facts. It's ridiculous.
You can't even get Soto for $39 million.
No, they want. Oh, come on. The payroll last year was not even enough to get Verlander and Scherzer. So, all right. So we have the two scenarios. If they sign Soto, $47 million, they have $36 million left to play around with regard to wheeling and dealing and signing free agents. And if they don't sign Soto, they have $83 million to play with to wheel and deal and sign free agents.
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. So we talked about this last week, so I'm just going to run through this pretty quick, right? The holes the Yankees have, clearly first base is a hole. I don't think you guys can argue, right?
Yes.
Okay. Second base and or third base is a hole, depending upon what position they have Chisholm playing. If Chisholm goes back to the outfield, then they have holes at both second and third. Or if Chisholm takes one of those positions, then they only have a hole at one of the positions, right?
Yeah, but I don't think they're going to move Chisholm to the outfield. He's going to be in the infield.
Well, it depends on how they construct the team and whether they sign Soto. I think has a bearing on that as well. And then on the outfield, they're going to have anywhere from no spots available if Soto signs and Chisholm is in the outfield, or they just say Soto, Dominguez, Judge, nobody. Or they're going to have 2 spots open when they get no Soto and they're saying Chisholm is playing the infield. Yes, Dominguez is the guy. So they really will only have 1 spot because they got to put Dominguez out there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then I think they have a whole backup catcher. Since we all got rid of Trevino just now, I assume you guys say yes.
Yes.
Then you get to the bullpen. All right. They don't really have a closer. I don't think Weaver is a closer. He might be the closer, but they definitely need more high leverage relievers because he's the only one they have.
That's my on that, but we'll wait until we get to it.
But isn't he the only one that they currently have?
They have a few high leverage guys, but
Who are the high leverage guys that they have that are on the team right now?
that's true. They're free agents. I mean, Canely and Holmes are likely going to be gone. So
right. So I mean, they have Weaver is the only high leverage guy. So the other guys that they have would be Hamilton, borderline high leverage, Leiter, borderline high leverage, right? Clayton Beater, God knows if he's ever going to pitch. Warren, who's going to have to move to the bullpen. And Efros, who's a wild card, who could be a high leverage guy, but he gets hurt, right? So that's their bullpen right now. So they need arms and they need high leverage guys. Is that a wrong analysis?
And there are high leverage guys out there, not right, out there, but out in the ether that they can bring in. And they also are known to find ways to make them find them. They find
relievers,
and they
absolutely
build them.
Great.
I don't think they worry about their bullpen. They should, because they were a little bit light in the loafers this year. I mean, I just didn't feel they were really quite as good as they could have been down there. So
and I also think that the bullpen has to be much more beefed up than even when the Yankees had the Nelson, Stanton, Rivera triumvirate, because your starters are only going 5 innings and 6 innings. So when we start to talk about the starters, I talked to Kramer about this. The Yankees have somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 to 10 potential guys that could start for them. If you leave Warren in the group, you have Beater, who's a wild card, so he doesn't really count. Poteet, who was great for the Yankees, but whatever. You have Gomez, who's a young guy, 25, I think he is. He was okay when he pitched for the Yankees this year, but I don't think he's in their top starters. And then you have the 6 guys that are starting pitchers, which is Cortez, Stroman, Schmidt, Heel, Rodon, and Cole. Clearly, they have depth. I won't say it's ocean depth, but they have depth, right?
Here's what I would do with that depth. If there's a market for Stroman, I would deal him, not because he's not a major leaguer, but this is the way his contract works.
140 innings, he's guaranteed $18 million for 26.
There's no way the Yankees are letting him throw.
And he pitched 160 this year. Yeah. So the question, but I think if they deal Stroman, they're going to have to eat some of his salary. So of the 18 million, they're not going to get a full 18 million in savings, and it's going to be tough to deal him. I also think that as the season progresses, if Cortez does well, you might have to deal him, because you can't have another $25 million starter or $20 million starter next on the team. For the same reason, you just can't, because I don't think Cortez is, long-term an answer. Rodon has a full no trade. Cole has obviously not going anywhere. Heel is young and not arbitration eligible. And Schmidt's young. So they have depth. I'm just not saying it's the strongest depth, but I don't think the Yankees can play, and we'll talk about it. I don't think the market for the high-end market for starting pitching with Burns and Fried and those guys, I don't think the Yankees should play in that, even though I think Burns would be worth it, because you can't have 3 $30 million pitchers on your roster.
Well, that's what led me to an idea. It's a trade idea, so
we'll get to it when we get to it, when we talk about this stuff. So the question is, and I have this as my next point, is there a market for Stroman?
I think there is, under certain circumstances. When you give me the go ahead, when we're ready for it, I'll give.
Go ahead. What do you think the market is for Stroman?
The market for Stroman is, if you trade him to a team that has a player that they want to get rid of that won't cost the Yanks an arm and a leg, I think there's a market because, as I stated before, there's no way the Yanks are letting Stroman pitch 40 innings. They don't want
So a bad contract for a bad contract. Is that
to
it, or is it?
bad.
But if the Yankees, what kind of player are you talking? What kind of example do you have as a player? I don't disagree with your theory, but what player is out there that's not going to cost the Yankees 9, 10, 12 million dollars?
Okay, it cost them 9, 10, or 12, but it's a better utility of the money. The Mets.
What I think if the Yankees make that trade, let's say the Yankees trade for a 10 or 12, let's say $10 million guy, I think the Yankees are going to have to retain $4 million of Stroman's money, so it's going to be $14 million.
Well, now let me give you this. The Yanks and Mets don't make many trades, but the Mets do need starters, and the Mets do have a player that they want to get rid of. I would entertain a deal where I send Stroman for Jeff McNeil, and I'll tell you why I would entertain it. McNeil is not a terrible defender. He's a pretty good on base percentage guy, and he's got pull powers. This ballpark might help him. He's better at second than at third, but he can also play left. Not a terrible defender. I would offer Stroman and to take McNeil's contract.
So you're going to take McNeil's contract, which is 15.7 for 25,
Years.
15.7 for 26,
That's right.
and then a club option. So whatever, 15.7
To create a
for
logjam
27.
in the infield and outfield. Where are they going to play him?
Well,
They're going to have
I don't mind the fact that he's a flexible player. I don't disagree.
He's not
I just
flexible.
don't think that that's a contract the Yankees should take back.
I
think
agree.
the saving of the $3 million isn't worth it.
No, but the
I
only
agree.
thing you're getting rid of 18 million also. But
But you're taking on 15.7 for 2 seasons. Definitely 15.7.
the only way you
Then don't. No, but that's
why I think that the market for Stroman is Yankees eat $9 million and take low level, high upside, risky prospects from a team that doesn't want to spend money like the Cincinnati Reds, or a team that doesn't want to spend money like the Pittsburgh Pirates. Yankees pay $9 million or $10 million of Stroman's salary, and the Yankees save $9 or $8 million, and they get some low level prospects, and it's just a pure money dump by the Yankees.
Well, that's different. The brought McNeil up is because he's a useful player.
Oh no, he's a very useful player. I absolutely I like McNeil as a player. I just think his money doesn't solve the problem the Yankees have, which is they need to fill a lot of holes and don't have much money to do it, especially if they sign Soto.
Oh, no, okay. I do agree that this trade idea would be in a post-Soto world. If Soto was not, in other words, if Soto was here, you can't make the move. But if Soto was gone, you definitely have room on the diamond for someone like McNeil. And maybe the Yanks get lucky and the Mets kick in some money. But the Mets would like to get rid of that contract.
I don't think the Mets are kicking in money because they don't. The 18. Well, whatever. I mean, Stroman. They liked him in New York. I mean, as far as the Mets taking Stroman, I think that's a team that would consider it if the deal was right. Right. I don't think the McNeil deal is the one. So anyhow,
I don't see it, and I'll tell you another reason why I don't see it. It's not just the money. They're going to be backlogging some of the young guys that can come in. Where's he going to play? What are they going to do? I really think they like Caleb Durbin. We'll talk about him later, and I think he's going to get a very good shot as a first year, minimum salary guy to fill in the need there. And then they're not going to add another player to that, push him down, create more of a forcing him to play, forcing some issues with Jazz, and then put him in the outfield where he may take up a spot that might belong to one of the young guys out there, or giving Judge and Soto more flexibility where they can play. So I don't know if that really helps them at all. Even if the money is even, I don't know what that does to really assist them. So
right. So I mean, I like the idea.
Right.
If the Yankees didn't have a lot of other holes to fill, I don't see a hole that McNeil really fills that can't be filled more efficiently money-wise.
Correct. That's my point.
So now let's talk about a specific position. All right. So first base. The options internally are Rice, DJ, and Cabrera. Potentially Judge. I doubt it. Maybe a couple of games. We'll see what happens in spring training. And Jones played a little bit of first base as a freshman at Vanderbilt, but he's not going to be ready for this season, at least at the start. So I think internally, this is if not the weakest, it is really, really weak position for the Yankees.
I have two players.
Can I bring up an idea?
Two ideas.
Well, let me before you do that, Kramer. I got a couple of things I want to get off my chest here with regard to if no Soto. Obviously, they can play in the free agent market, the high end free agent market of Christian Walker, who they estimate is going to get 3 years and $60 million as a 34-year-old. But he is a Gold Glover, Platinum Glover, and he's a good hitter. So that's a good thing. I don't want Alonso, and they talk about 5 years, 135. I don't think that's worth it. Don't want Goldschmidt, even though he's a 1 year, 15 guy. One guy that's interesting, and he won a Gold Glove this year, never won one before, and he's 38 years old. And
That's my boy.
possible you can get him for $8 million. Who do you think I'm saying?
Carlos Santana.
Yep.
I got control of the board. I'll take baseball players for 200, Alex. Carlos Santana is interesting, but I had two other names. You'd have to trade for them.
Well, from the trade perspective, the guys that are out on the market, the one that's really interesting is Yandy Diaz.
Oh, you kidding me? He'd be a perfect fit.
He's
But
33, and he does make $8 million and then $10 million and then a club option for $12 million. So
you can't get a better fit. He solves not only first base, he leads off.
Yeah, he probably does. He's got it. I would like an on-base percentage higher than his 340, but based on what the Yankees have had in the past, that's better than what they've had.
He's a career 370.
Is he? But he's not going in that direction. I mean, he did hit 330 2 years ago. So
Well, look at the 2 years before. He was 400 one of those years, but whatever. There's another guy.
Who do you got? Who's your other guy?
The other guy is Lamont Wade. Don't overlook him. In that ballpark, also plays pull hitter.
He's not a pull hitter. He is
not.
not a pull hitter. And he's also one of the worst fielding players I've ever seen.
I wouldn't say that. I like Diaz better, but Lamont Wade's not fit.
Lamont Wade is not the answer, and he gets hurt every single year. He doesn't even play full time because he was only playing in a platoon last year, and he still got hurt. By the way, Yandy Diaz, going back to him, he did have 400 for 2 consecutive years in 22 and 23, and he also had in 2020 he had a 400 on base percentage, and I think batting in front of, let's just say, Soto and Judge, because I think they can sign Diaz and Soto.
Wade has, just going back to Wade, 117 games this year, 135 is the most he's ever played in a 5-year career with Minnesota and the Giants. So he does seem to get hurt a lot. On base percentage guy, kind of nice, 380 on base, which is above average. Does strike out more than you'd think. Had 90 strikeouts this year, so not
and
sure.
95 in 2023.
Not terrible.
He missed time this year. He missed a month with a hamstring this year. He's had 2 knee injuries that he missed significant times with, and then before that, he had a thumb and an oblique.
He's not a superstar, but he's a 350 on base guy. That's far better than the internal options the Yankees have. The internal options are either quadruple A players or bench players.
Right, but I think he's more of a platoon guy. He is a lefty, which we all like. And his estimated arbitration number is 4.3, which is less than Diaz would cost.
That's the point. In other words,
Diaz could also play third base. That's what's really funny about him.
You get a decent bat at low cost, and he also has some experience, but you primarily want him to play first with a 350 on base.
I like the idea of Santana because it's only for 1 year.
Oh, no doubt about it.
It gives you flexibility. I mean, obviously, if they don't sign Soto, they have to get. Christian Walker would be at the top of my position player list.
I'm not sure I would spend the money.
$20 million is not. I mean, I can't believe this sentence just came out of my mouth. $20 million is a above average first baseman price, and that's what Christian Walker is. And granted, he's a right-handed hitter, isn't he?
He's right-handed, but no. The point I make is I don't know if I would spend $20 million on the first baseman. He's worth the 20. I mean, he's worth the $1 million. I'd rather spend that elsewhere. You're going to need it bullpen, maybe for an outfielder.
What I'm saying though is you're only going to do that if you don't sign Soto. So you have $87 million to spend if you don't sign Soto. Giving 20 to Walker still leaves a lot of money on the table to sign other players.
That's true. In a Soto world, guys, preferably Diaz, but don't overlook a guy like Lamont Wade also, because what we learned in the playoffs, it's nice to have young players, but you got to have veteran bats in those pressures.
Lamont Wade is not a young player. He's 31.
He's a veteran player. I understand that, but you have to have that.
He's I'm living out here and seeing him all the time. I've had him on my fantasy team the last couple of years because of his on base percentage, but he just seems to not play much. He comes in late in games to pinch hit, or he gets removed for defense in every game. It's just really crazy. But I think Yandy Diaz, which would give them 2 years at a lot less money, would be a nice fit, as would Carlos Santana for 1 year. All right, so second base. Internal options are Chisholm, Durbin, Peraza, and Cabrera.
I would give Durbin the shot, but they have to back him up with a veteran also.
Well, they have that.
Hmm?
They'll be able to move
Chisholm, DJ,
Chisholm over there. They can
and
move.
Cabrera.
They can do Cabrera. So yeah, this guy's got that coming off a ridiculous Arizona Fall League. He's the kind of player that they absolutely need. Doesn't strike out. Love this guy. I mean, just love this guy. This is the kind of person, he can be a leadoff hitter. Ultimately, they'll put him down, drop him to the bottom of the order. Let him bat 8th or 9th with Volpe, wherever he's going to be. And then let him just get on base and see what he does. Doesn't strike out. Not at all. So
no, they say the comparable is Arise.
I mean, that's
a pretty good comparable to have on your team. He doesn't walk much, but his bat to ball skills are elite.
Then you know what? Then if you're going to play him, forget about 8th or 9th. Lead him off. You got to find out. Lead him off.
I would bat him 9th as well. Adam, we have a comment from Steve Caro on Durbin.
Adam, you love Durbin because he's a second baseman. You're the same height as him.
Guilty.
Listen, Steve, I'm sorry. Durbin is 5'5". Adam is not. Adam is 5'2".
I am guilty. I do love those little scrappy guys.
90 pounds.
I do. Yeah, he does. I do outweigh him by more than a few. But actually, I think he's one. Let me see what he is. He's actually a big guy. He's 5'6", 185. That is not
he's not a small
That is
guy.
a tank. He is a tank.
And he plays like a tank.
I like him. Did have an injury this year. Got hit by some. Broke his
second or third, depending on what they want to do. And he does play second, short, third, and has played corner outfield through his minor league.
They say they'll work him in the outfield. I was listening to Boone interview on him. They're going to move him to the outfield as well. So they're going to give him a super utility skill.
I give him the job. If he's what kind of fielder is he? Is he a good fielder at second base?
They say he's it's not a plus, but he's perfectly average. I think he's
so that he's better than Glaber.
Yeah,
I would give Durbin the guy's out of control in the Arizona Fall League. He was out of control in AAA. He was out of control in AA. You got to give these guys a shot. I mean, I know this is at the expense of Peraza, who at some point you got to give him a shot or cut bait and trade him, which is, I think, a piece that they could throw in a trade. That might be a guy you have to throw in a trade to upgrade the prospect you get for Stroman when somebody takes Stroman. You throw in a guy like a Peraza.
Yeah,
who has a high upside and has had some injury history to cut him back. By the way, the guy I forgot to mention in the outfield mix is Pereira, but we'll get to that when we talk about outfielders. So the free agent options at second base. This is the most hilarious list I've ever seen. You ready? Gleyber Torres, Kyle Farmer, Nicky Lopez, Whit Merrifield, Jorge Polanco, Brandon Drury, Adam Frazier, Tony Kemp, and Joey Wendell. That's the second base free agent market.
Is the one player that
we'll pass.
What'd you say, Kramer? You have one you like?
There's only one player that you slightly consider, and it's Polanco. And that just because give him the benefit of that he was playing on he's the only one you.
Kramer, you're fading in and out. I don't know exactly why.
He's the only one you'd even consider because he doesn't.
There's one other option that could play second base that they don't necessarily list him as second base as his primary position. Ha-Seong Kim. I
like him too, but he's not going to be cheap though.
No, he's going to be $14 million according to the estimates that I saw across ESPN, Sports Track, and what was the third source? Something I got through Bleacher Report where they were talking about it. They're talking about him being 1 year, 14. Now, 2 years ago, he was fantastic. Last year, he was not very good. But if they could figure out a way to do that, he's not a bad guy to have either. He's not old. There is one starting pitcher I think the Yankees need to go after. I don't think they're going to get him, but they can go after him, and Kim could help.
I would say that there's no chance that they're going to, not with all the press he's getting and the buzz that you're hearing from everyone from Boone all the way up to the owner about Durbin. They're not going to spend money in that position.
No, I don't think so either. I don't think so either.
Bottom line. Boom.
So just so you know, the options in the trade market, allegedly, the best options in the trade market is Brandon Lowe. Is he Lowe or Lau? Which one is he?
Lowe.
Tampa, the lefty.
Lowe.
He's making 10.5 with a club option for 11.5 and 26, but he's 30. He's missed 50 or more games each of the last 2 seasons, but he also hit 21 home runs, and he's allegedly a pretty good fielder.
Left-handed hitter?
Yeah.
One problem with him.
Strikes out massively.
I mean, a ton. He strikes out way too.
Can we make one agreement here that the Yankees, can we all agree, the Yankees do not bring on, in any one of these scenarios, a high strikeout guy? They do not need that. I really like them to get away from this idea of the big hairy bomber that they love so much. All these guys do is try to pull the ball. They all turn into pull hitters. And then they strike out 180 times a year. And then we have playoff games like we had this year. Let's just not do it anymore. Get away from it. What do you think? Agree?
I think that they shouldn't bring in any of the guys like that as well. I mean, I have them on the list because they're out there as potential trade guys. But I agree. You can't bring in a guy like that.
No more.
You can't bring in a guy that strikes out that many times and doesn't hit 260 and have a slugging over an OPS over 780.
Yeah.
They gotta compensate somehow. And I don't mean like Joey Gallo did, because that obviously is not the answer either. So shortstop, they need a new shortstop. Volpe sucks.
No.
I think Volpe's going to be the shortstop, and we don't even have to talk about that position.
You've wanted him off. I know
I changed my mind on Volpe only because unless they're going to get a great trade for him, there's no reason to trade him. He in the playoffs, he seemed to be a little bit more consistent of not opening up his hips, but I think he's got the easiest swing to fix of anybody on the team. It is so ridiculously obvious what his problem is.
Yeah.
And I just don't get how that can't be fixed.
Well, it seems to me they might want to close his stance a little bit. I would close his stance.
See, I do the opposite. I would open his stance so that he has no choice but to step into the ball.
Good point.
You close your stance, that gives you an opportunity to go in the bucket. Paul Blair closed his stance and would step massively in the bucket. Stanton, after getting hit in the face, massively closed his stance. Of course, he doesn't stride, so that's a different animal.
Didn't Paul Blair also have an accident where he got hurt?
Hit in the head as well.
Yeah.
So
interesting. All right. Anybody else calling in here?
So third base, right? The internal options at third base are the same pretty much as they are for second base. Chisholm, Durbin, Peraza, and Cabrera. Right? So let's just say it's going to be Chisholm because we all think he's going to stay on the infield. I think it's going to be Chisholm. What do you think? Or do you think they move Durbin there?
No. Go ahead. You answer question. What do you think, Kramer?
Okay. If Durbin is getting the shot, then Chisholm likely stays at third. If Durbin is not ready for prime time or the Yanks decide not to start him, the third base options externally, the expensive option is Alex Bregman. And you know what? I started to think about it. There are a couple of orange flags, not red flag, orange flags. He's a pull hitter, and the ballpark's not going to help him. But the good thing about him, he's an above-average fielder. May not be elite, but above-average third baseman, and he's October tested. So
they're also talking about if he goes back to Houston, they might move him off of third base.
Right, then they might move him. I have a feeling.
And move him to first base.
I have a feeling he's going to go back to Houston.
Yeah.
Also,
do you know what do you think his on-base percentage was in 2024?
Only 320 or 330.
315. That's amazing.
Yeah,
what's going on there? What happened?
Look at his splits for the first half of the year and the second half of the year. He had one of the worst starts ever.
He's a career.
So actually, so did Diaz. When we were talking about him, I should have mentioned he had a great from May forward. Yandy Diaz was fantastic. He had a terrible April and beginning of May.
I mean, Bregman's a great fit, but Bregman's only a fit in a post Soto world.
Yeah.
Been rumors and reports that Bregman may be heading to Philadelphia. That's one.
Yeah, that's what I heard. That's what I was reading too. Is Philly's big onto Bregman. So the other options out there in the free agent world, the one that is a guy who has said he would move off of his current position, and you can't sign him unless Soto moves away, is Adames.
Oh, damn.
And they're looking at him getting 7 years for 180, which is 25, right?
A lot of money.
25 a year, 26 a year. That's too much money, I think, for him. But he's 29 years old, and if it's only 7 years and he's at third base already, you don't have to worry about moving him when he can't play shortstop anymore.
What's his career OBP? You know, it's funny. Even Bregman's a little older. Bregman's going to start next year, age 31. Bregman's the better fit than Adames, even though Adames has more power. Bregman's the better fit.
The Bregman, there's some signs of things. I hear, what was it, that first of all, he's slower than I thought. He doesn't steal bases anymore, if he ever did. Maybe early on in 17 he had a few. But he's not that fast. Took only 44 walks last year, in 634 plate appearances. Missed 17 games. He must have got hurt. Something happened. Did he get hurt?
He was hurt for a bit.
But
I don't know. He's going to be very expensive, and I wonder if he's on the downside.
No, and the number of years for him is supposed to be only 5. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
I also think I think that when we talk about Adames, you're also talking about a guy who has a lower OBP than you would want, and a high strikeout rate. So it's another reason that I don't want Adames. But
here's another idea. If Cardinals kicked in money, would you take
no
Arenado?
No.
No, he's
nope.
I'll tell you why. It's not a definite no. It's 3 years, not terribly long. But again, I would if the Yanks would think about it, they should really consider it if the Cardinals kick in another, let's say, $5 million. The Rockies in $5 million as part of the trade that was originally made between the Cardinals and the Rockies. So if the Yanks got him for let's say 3 years at $15 million per, with Cardinals picking up 5, that might be worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Cardinals right now, with regard to Arenado, ready? They're responsible for $24 million next year, 21 and 25, 16 and 26, and 15 and 27. The length of this deal is just horrendous.
3 years.
What are you talking about? 24, 25, 26, 27 is 4 years.
24 passed already.
25, 20, yeah, 3 years. You're right. Sorry, math. I was told there'd be no math.
Yeah, that's
I wouldn't take Arenado. I just think he's on the downside.
Well, he is, but his contact rate's still the same. His defense is above average, and at the right cost, he's worth thinking about.
Obviously you're talking about a no Soto world, right?
In no Soto world.
And then back to just finishing up on our Adames. Why? One of the things, 173 strikeouts last year.
Right, that's what I said.
Exactly the problem that we have next
150
year.
times a year. That's what I booted him for. I said that exactly. I didn't say the number, but I said his strikeout rate's ridiculous. So on the trading block, the other third basemen that are out there, and I want no part of these guys, Gio or Shella, because why bring him in when you've got Peraza and Cabrera?
No, Josh.
And then the other guy that the Yankees are actually talking to, which I think they should just run away from, is Jean Makata. Just run away.
Yeah.
There is no reason in the world to sign a guy who played 92 games in 23 and 12 games in 24, and even when he was healthy, was a horrible fielder and not that good a hitter.
Yeah.
And a low baseball IQ guy. You might as well.
Yeah, another one of those. We don't need it. That's another thing we should all agree on here. It would be nice if they would focus on high IQ ball players, good character guys who have a brain in their head when they're on the field.
That's why I like Hassan Kim,
but I think that the options are internal on this one. I don't think they're going to go out. I don't think they're going to get Bregman. Bregman's going to get signed by the Astros again. I have a feeling that he's going to go
Astros or the Phillies.
And so that's I think it's a non-issue for them. I'm happy with let's get Greg Nettles down for let's teach give a guy with Jazz's athletic skill, his athletic ability, an opportunity to learn the tough position. Listen, he was not good at third base. He was not terrible for a guy who's never played there before. He's never had a spring training. He didn't know where to stand. He wasn't able to make certain plays that he should have made. I bet he will. I think he'll be fine at third base. He's got the arm for it. And that's the one thing that I really want to emphasize. An arm at third base. Yankees have not had that for a while. The guys they have are not big arms at third base. They've been okay, but they have not had a big arm at third base. And having that isn't terrible. And I think they can teach him this stuff. Give him a full spring. Maybe he's working on it right now. And then he can always cycle back to second base. I think that's a great spot for him.
I agree 100%
You agree?
with everything you said, except for one
Except
thing.
what?
The Yankees could teach him this stuff. I think he is smart enough. He works hard enough. He's interested. He's engaged. He loves being a Yankee. He loves playing baseball. He's got every single skill you want to have, and I agree 100% on the arm.
But you don't think the
If the Yankees had
do it?
Ron Washington on their staff, I would 100% agree with you.
Well, maybe that's something they need to do.
Well, he's a manager someplace. They're not getting him.
What about a trade for Alec Bohm?
That was another name that's on my list. Alec Bohm. The two guys that are on the trade block are Alec Bohm and Ryan McMahon. I don't want either of them. McMahon, too many high strikeout rate, and other than 2024, he was very Colorado home stadium oriented for his offense. And he's got a contract that, while not awful, 3 years and $44 million left. I don't particularly like him because his strikeout rate is ridiculous. And Alec Bohm, listen, there's a risk involved in him. He's not a bad fielder at all, right? Am I right, Kramer? He's a good fielder.
Acceptable fielder, and here's another idea with Alec Bohm. He's got first base experience. Maybe you move him over there.
And his estimated arbitration number is $8 million. The question is, what is it going to cost the Yankees to get an Alec Bohm?
And the other thing about him is the strikeout rate's not bad. He makes.
Is the strikeout rate not bad?
He struck
out less than 100 times each of the last 2 seasons.
Pretty durable.
Of course, and he did hit 280 this year with a 330 on base. I didn't think he had that good a year, but he only had 15 homers, but he had 97 RBIs. You got to like that.
What this year taught Yankees and the Yankee organization, we hope, and what they've got to get an extra bat or two in the lineup and not rely on the young kids to be the saviors. If the young kids work out with these bats, fantastic. Then maybe you have a World Series team. But you're gonna have a young player in Wells, a still young player in Volpe. You're gonna have Dominguez in the lineup. You might have Durbin. You got to surround them with proven players, or else.
And Bomb's, he's in his prime. He's 28. He's going to be 29 in August. He's, he had 44 doubles. And that little bandbox in Philadelphia, he wasn't hitting homers, but if he's hitting doubles in Philadelphia and he's pulling the ball, he's a right-handed hitter.
Yeah, 97 RBIs. Yeah, that is a solid player. Nice on base percentage.
I take back what I said. I think he would be a good fit.
He'd be a good fit because you can play him at third or at first, depending upon what your needs are.
Oh no, you know who his agent is?
Scott Boras.
Yeah, but he's arbitration eligible, so it's not like you're gonna have to deal.
Made the All-Star game this year.
Yeah.
What?
He's arbitration eligible in both 25 and 26. He's going to be very expensive to get.
So he was their DH this year?
No, so he was the third baseman.
He played third base.
Why did they say 53? Oh, he played 53 games at DH, so he had 53 opportunities.
They rotated guys through DH in Philadelphia pretty good, and the reason that they're willing to trade him is they have a replacement.
Mm-hmm.
So Alec Bohm wouldn't be a bad thing if they can get him at the $8 million. Then it would be probably 12 and 26. But he's going to be very costly. I mean, what are you going to give up to get him?
Give up. If they would take Pereira and a pitching prospect, I would do it.
I don't think that's enough.
Why would they
put him in now mode? They're not going to give up a starting player
for another guy who is not a starting player
and a prospect. Phillies are looking at potentially signing Bregman. So, they're looking to spend. They're not looking to not spend money. They're not the Cardinals looking to cut payroll left and right, and they're looking to win now.
Well, the Cardinals have a perfect player for the Yanks. We didn't even mention him. Second, third, and left field is Brendan Donovan. Perfect player. He would fit like a glove.
Brendan, who?
Brendan Donovan would fit like a glove.
He loves Brendan Donovan.
Yes,
You've been
he
talking
does
about him
love
for
Brendan
years.
Donovan.
Well, he would really fit. I mean, he's a left-handed hitter. Play second, third, or left, depending upon the need. He could probably lead off.
Got it. Hey, we got a couple of people who've called in. We should listen to them, don't you think?
I don't
First
think
of all, can we bring up our one friend? Because even though it's not, I know what you like. You like to keep it pretty to the point. But I'm so happy he's here. I want to just welcome him to the show.
Yes, bring him in. Bring in Uncle Rich Weil.
Hey, how come you only talk about the Yankees?
We
I
talked
love
about
this
the
guy.
Mets. We talked about we don't want Alonso, and we talked about trading Stroman to the Mets. What more does he want?
We talk about a lot of teams here, man. We do.
Today we're talking about almost every team, and we
Every
got
team.
so much to talk
We had
about.
who we talked about? The Phillies, the Giants. We talked
Cardinals.
about
We've talked about the Rays. We've talked about
What's the matter with you, Wild?
We haven't really talked about the White Sox yet, but we will.
You didn't mention the Pirates and the Reds. You mentioned
I
them.
mentioned the Pirates and the Reds. We've talked about teams.
All right.
Yeah, we screwed them. Well, we talked about plenty of guys. Anyhow,
Thank you.
but thanks for listening.
Good to hear from you. We love our listeners. We appreciate you all.
All right, so let's move off of the third base position because I think we're all pretty much going to be settled on it's going to be Chisholm.
Yeah.
Which is your veteran guy. But we do have guys we like, and Kramer did an outstanding job convincing me of Alex Baum and looking up his I think it's his husband, Brendan Donovan. He's got a high on base percentage, really high. I mean, his worst season so far for on base was this year was 342.
And why would they trade him?
That's the whole thing. The team that doesn't want to spend money has an inexpensive player making $4 million, and they've got team control over him for 3 seasons, 25, 26, and 27. Talk about something that would cost them a boatload of things. There's not a lot out there that the Yankees could offer the Cardinals that would justify them trading Donovan to the Yankees.
Would you trade Jones for him?
No.
I tell you, it's not a definite no anymore. At one point, I would have agreed with you. I don't think it's a definite no. Jones's stats were very alarming. They were tantalizing too, though. So, but
yeah, I mean, but Jones is not even going to be in the majors yet, and his upside is ridiculously possible. I wouldn't trade Dominguez for him either. So,
trade Volpe.
What?
You trade Volpe for him?
No, I wouldn't.
Okay.
No, as much as I wanted to get rid of Volpe because he made me so angry at his freaking health tip in the third base dugout. Anyhow, so let's get to the outfield. All right. So there's 2 scenarios here. Soto is signed. I think if Soto's signed, outfield is pretty much settled because it's Judge, Dominguez, and Soto. And I think the Judge moves to left field. What do you guys think? If they sign Soto, what do they do with Judge?
If they sign Soto, I do think they're going to put Judge in left. If
we're not hearing
a non-Soto world,
Kramer, you got to lift up your microphone off of your crotch because it keeps disappearing.
It's in my hand. I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's better.
In a Soto world, I agree with you. Dominguez goes to center and Judge goes to left. In a non-Soto world, the one outfielder that I put down that I thought would be a reasonable fit is Michael Conforto. Decent on-base percentage, not a terrible strikeout rate.
Inexpensive left-hander.
Pretty good outfielder, and he can handle New York.
Yeah. Yeah, and he still can't throw very well after his injury. Now, the thing about Dominguez that bothers me so much is before he got hurt, he was a plus, not plus, but plus center fielder. And then they started moving him around, and now he became not a plus center fielder and clearly not a plus left fielder.
May I participate in this conversation? I think this is a media construct that he made a few bad plays, not even one he overran. I mean, come on. He plays left field for the first time, and he hasn't played a lot. He hasn't played a lot in left field, which is, again, talk to Roy White, one of the hardest places in the world to play, left field at Yankee Stadium. They throw him in there, and he's not ready. He hadn't played a full season. He's not ready. This is a thing that can be fixed. But why nail him to the cross on a few bad games?
It's not like his name is Jesus Dominguez.
So they need to leave this guy alone and just let him become a great player.
I agree.
Okay, let's stop doing what the Yankees do, rotting your prospects. I'm tired of the rotting of the prospects.
I agree.
Let him play. Put him where is he comfortable? Put him in center fielder. That's the best place for him because it'll take the stress off of Judge. We got to make.
And they do have a potential right-handed hitting center fielder who's a plus fielder. Another prospect that if Dominguez really can't hit right-handed, which they're very concerned about more so than his defense, in Pereira. And Pereira's stats in the minors are out of control. He's had a couple of injuries, but Pereira is just you got to give him a shot. Right?
I didn't see what kind of year he's had.
He was injured
for the whole first half of the year.
Yeah.
But he had 93 at bats, so he did nothing this year. Right. Complete loss. So,
but look at his 93 bats. Didn't he do well at 93 bats?
No, 151 batting average. Well, no, I'm sorry, it's his career. My bad. I went to the wrong site. I hate that.
Well, while you're looking, the other external outfielder, which could be in a pre or post Soto world, not a perfect player, but has a good contact rate also. But he's an excellent outfielder, is Max Kepler. For a short term, 1 or 2 years, that would be somebody.
He'll be expensive.
I don't think he's going to be that expensive. He didn't have a great year last year. So,
all right, what about this one? What if they go if in a non-Soto world they go after somebody like Anthony Santander?
Wouldn't touch him.
What amazes me is the guy hit 40 home runs last year. He hit 40. What he hit 44. And he was a 2.9 WAR player. What on earth was wrong with this guy where he only did a 2.9 WAR?
With 44 home runs,
and he's a good defender.
So what was missing from his game?
His batting average and strikeouts and on-base percentage.
He's a terrible outfielder defensively, and his on-base percentage.
No, he's not a terrible outfielder.
He's not good. He's not better than Soto. Let's put it that way. And his on-base percentage is .308.
With all those home runs. That's it right there.
Yeah. The .308. He only had 44 walks last year. He only had 58 walks, struck out 129, which is probably average now.
Yeah.
By the way, you were looking at Pereira's major league average.
Yeah.
150.
He actually didn't have a terrible year. So
he hit 265. He hit 265 with a 346 on base percentage and a 512 slugging.
Yeah.
And he only played 40 games and he had 162 at bats. So,
well, here's what they could do. They could bring Pereira north if he earns it, and he replaces Grisham, and you save $5 million. So you could do that.
That's what I was thinking. Is he's your fourth outfielder? He's your fourth outfielder, and he's right-handed and can play center field. So if Dominguez has a day off against the righty, a lefty pitcher, he's your guy. And he's an excellent fielder. And if you look at his average in 23, he hit 300 with 373 on base and 548 slugging. I mean, his minor league stats are just off the charts. And you got to give him a chance. And
all right, here's the problem. He has a 37% strikeout rate.
Well, yes, he does. But when you have an on-base percentage of 373 and you have a slugging of 548 and an OPS of 921.
All right. You got to think, though, major league level. Here's the issue.
If he's a
platoon, he'll do worse.
If he's a platoon player only playing against left-handers, he's going to be better than he was against all sorts of pitching.
And what's his estimated salary? He'll cost nothing, right?
He costs nothing.
Maybe he gets a shot as a fourth outfielder for them. See what happens. Yeah, not a bad idea. But we're all in no go on any of these outfield guys. These free agent guys. I don't.
Well, let me just give you a couple of free agents that I thought was very interesting to read about.
Okay.
Right. All right. So the ones that I would stay away from are on the higher end. I wouldn't sign Profar. Even though he had a great season, I wouldn't sign Profar because I don't like guys who have career seasons in their contract year, and he fits the bill. Santander fits that same bill. And they're both.
He's also not a kid anymore. I mean,
Right.
Profar is,
Profar's 32.
32, going on 32.
And he's not good defensively at all. But there are 3 guys that are free agents that are not young, but are also not that expensive, that would be backup outfielders. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Well, 2 of them. One I don't like. Michael A. Taylor I don't like because he can't hit an infant's weight. So I don't want Michael A. Taylor. He's got a ridiculously high strikeout rate, but he's inexpensive and he's an excellent defender. Our old friend Harrison Bader.
Can't hit.
Well,
no, I don't like his. He's gonna get hurt.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem. And then, all right, you ready?
I like him. I love him. He's a New York kid. I love it. Riverdale boy.
Playoff performer for the Yankees. But how's this for a guy who's back in the free agent market again? Kike Hernandez.
I was just going to bring him up.
Love him. Love him.
They should try to sign him.
He could play second, short, third, center, left, right. Sure, he freaking.
Aren't they just? But the Dodgers are going to sign him back. They love him over there. Are they going to bring him back?
They probably
will. The Yanks had the opportunity.
He made $4 million last year.
They had the opportunity to sign him last year, and they blew it. All he was looking for is, can you guarantee me some at bats against lefty pitching? And the Yanks couldn't even do that. Yanks had the opportunity, and they blew it.
Yeah.
So
I mean, he did stink on the Red Sox too, though. You got to remember that.
No, but he's the type. It's funny. He's the type of bench player, part-time player that the team needs. I mean, we like Cabrera, but Cabrera doesn't hit enough.
Well, I have news for you. Kike doesn't really hit enough either, but he plays in the playoffs like nobody's business.
I mean,
and he's a plus defender.
At every 229 last year.
Kike did, right?
Wow.
But when October comes, when October comes,
right? That's the key. There is you want guys on your bench that you're like, oh yeah, he could play. So, and then the other high-end outfielder, which they can't sign because of Soto, and is Teoscar.
I don't think I would want him.
Yeah. I mean, he's a 25 to 35 home run guy. You're talking about him only making $17 million for a year for 3 years. He has the clutch gene. He has the clutch gene, and he kills the Yankees. But his strikeout rate is pretty high too.
Not a good outfielder. And
how about this?
Again, Teoscar Hernandez they talked about how good an outfielder he is.
Oh, because of that play? Come on.
He does not have a great arm. His arm, that arm was not a great arm. Was not a great arm.
Great arm, but he's a good outfielder.
Yeah. And how about this?
Out there, the other guys that are out there that are in the trade market, which I don't really think the Yankees should go after. Luis Robert, no. Castellanos, no. Taylor Ward, no. But he's interesting at least.
And then back on Teoscar, one thing about Teoscar, another bad thing. 190 strikeouts.
That's right.
It's unreal.
That's why I don't want him either. But he's at least interesting to talk about. So we're basically, with regard to the outfield, that's another reason that they have to sign Soto. There's just not a lot out there.
Yeah.
That's the reason you got to sign Soto is what else is there out there? There's not even much to trade for. I mean, you talk about taking back a contract from the Mets. How about Starling Marte?
No.
Injury prone.
No, I mean, but I'm talking about if you're going to get rid of Stroman.
I'd rather take McNeil.
Yeah, I'd rather take Marte because he's only got 1 year left.
Yeah.
So anyhow, so that's that. And then backup catcher is the next thing we could talk about before we get to
Come on, they got someone. They got to have somebody in the minor leagues who can catch.
No, they don't. Their minor league prospects that are good are 18 and 19 years old.
How about Rice? Can't Rice play third?
That's one of the options.
How about putting him back where he belongs?
I have an interesting right-handed bat option that's a free agent. Old friend Kyle Higashioka.
Yeah, I saw him.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind.
He's 35. He will cost about Kramer. Your head's gone.
Nope. Sorry.
He would cost about half of what Trevino would cost.
Oy. Also, Kramer, what century did you? Was that a? Look how young Kramer is in that pitch. That's like 1988.
1972. I think going into the season with Narvaez and Wells and Rice as your catchers is a mistake, which is why I think Higgy is a real option.
I like it. been here before, knows the pitching. They love him. I'm
Good
fine with it as a
defensively.
backup, but no question, he is not the starter.
No, he wasn't the
don't-
starter in San Diego, but he
No.
got hot and they played him, and then he went back to the bench.
Backup, and I like him, but I would love them to find somebody who's got a shotgun arm. It would be so nice to have somebody who can throw somebody out.
There's none of those in the majors really right now. There's one guy. What was the guy's name? The backup catcher for the Mets this last year, who had never thrown guys out before.
Luis Torrens?
Narvaez?
Yeah, Torres. That's him.
Torres.
Torrens. He never threw guys out before, and then all of a sudden he was throwing everybody out this year.
And here's the sad thing. He was a Yankee. They gave him away for nothing.
Yeah, they gave him away for nothing.
That's right.
All right. So, backup catcher is a problem, but I don't want Trevino at $3.6 million. I'd rather have Higgy at $2 million.
Yeah, I agree.
So
all
now
right,
we get
boys.
to starting pitching finally, and we have a comment from Mr. Webby. So let's let him chime in here, because I think we could talk about what he's talking about, and I think we'll all disagree.
I think the Yanks will go after a big starting pitcher. I think probably Blake Snell will be the guy that they push for the most. He's going to command top dollar. It's weird. The guy won 5 games last year, but he will be in top demand. I think that's their best shot.
Nope.
And I'll tell you one main reason. He's still with Boris. Boris is going to do it again. He'll hold him out, and he'll end up having another short-term contract. Watch.
Yep.
You gotta love Montgomery for firing that guy.
Montgomery's on the trade block.
Yeah.
So they're thinking that Snell's going to get 5 years and $158, and they think he's going to end up in Boston. That's the primary place they think he's going to end up. They do think the Giants are going to make a play for him. They actually think the Dodgers might make a play for him, which I don't think they should either. And they think the Padres are going to make a play for him, but they're predicting. A lot of predictions are he's going to go to Boston. But I don't want Snell. I don't want a $33 million a year pitcher who's going to pitch 5 innings. I don't care that he pitched a no-hitter. That's, what was that, his first complete game? I can't. This is, with regard to starting pitching, my personal thing is they have 2 guys that are making a boatload of money in Rodon and Cole. One of them can throw 7 innings, 8 innings. The other one can throw 5 to 7 or 3 innings, depending on whether or not he decides to throw strikes. You can't have 3 pitchers making that much money. And I think the Yankees are going to have to play into all right, starters are going 5 innings, 6 innings. That's why we're going to deal with Schmidt. We're going to deal with Cortez. We're going to deal with Heel. Heel can go 6 or 7 when he's going well, but he's probably going to be a 4 to 6 inning starter. And you're going to have to just live with that. And that's why I don't want to spend money. There's only one guy that the Yankees could spend money on, and it's not a lot of money because he decided that he's going to leave Japan this year and not wait, and that's Sasaki. And I don't think we're going to get him because he's going to the Dodgers.
He's not coming here. Dodgers or Padres.
The Yankees can offer him $6 million a year.
Yep.
$6.2 million the Yankees have in their international bonus pool. So that's what they can offer him, but it has to be in January because it has to be after a certain date. And the Dodgers can only offer like 5.2.
It's not a money issue.
No, it's not. And the Dodgers are going to get him because of Ohtani and Yamamoto and blah 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 blah. And,
hey guys, I've got to pull up at this point. I'm gonna let you finish the show.
Yeah, you don't want to get her pregnant, so you better pull out.
Talk to you later.
Good luck in prison.
Thank you, sir.
So I don't think they should spend money on starters, even if Soto doesn't sign. What do you think, Craig?
They shouldn't because they have too many other holes. If a starter was the final piece, I'd say yes. Unfortunately, Sasaki's not going to come here.
No, but even if they don't sign Soto and they do have more money, do you think they should sign Fried?
If Soto doesn't come and they have the money, that's the starter I would want.
Because that's the only guy that I would want if Soto's not there. But the salary they're talking about for him, and he's coming off a major arm injury.
It'll be in the 20s.
6 for 6, 168.
Yeah, that's about right.
That's what comes out to 28 a year.
Yeah, that's about right.
So I mean, he's the only guy I would consider. I mean, I love Burns, but a right-handed pitcher. I don't want Kikuchi. Injuries inconsistently, walk rate, and then in the trademark, the other guys that are out there that I don't really want. Severino, he's at $19 million a year for 2. Mania 3 at 55,
I would
Flaherty 3 at
I would take
60.
Mania. I would take.
Mania's proven in New York, and his new arm slot seemed to work well.
Yeah, yeah, I would take Mania because it's for that contract length. I think it'd be worth it.
There is one guy I would potentially consider, but not at $7 million. Spencer Turnbull, but I would consider him as because he'd be a good swing man, an effective swing man. But that's not where I would spend the money. And the only guy that's on the trade market that's of significant value is Garrett Crochet.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's going to cost a lot because you get 2 years of control. This is where I would potentially give up Jones.
Well, you're going to have to give Jones up if you're going to give Jones up, then Crochet might be the trade to do.
I would give up Jones. I would give up one of their stud catching prospects that's really young, and I would give them Peraza as well.
They would do it. They would probably take it
because you're giving out major league ready infielder, 1 year away, high upside outfielder that both make no money, and a very high upside young catcher because the Yankees have 3 of those between 18 and 20 years old. And hopefully that's what the White Sox do. And then, he's going to make money in arbitration, probably about $10 million, but you got 2 years of control. And then this is where I'd spend the money, regardless of Soto. I'd spend the money on these bullpen guys, right? So the bullpen guys that are free agents, this is not trade guys. Tanner Scott is $16 million a year. He's a closer. Hoffman, and he's 30 years old. Hoffman's 32. They're talking about him getting 3 at 39. He's not closer, but he can close. He's like Weaver for all intents and purposes.
Yeah.
With more experience. I don't want to bring back Clay Holmes, even though they're talking about 2 for 24 for him. Carlos Estevez, another Philly.
I don't like him.
They're talking about 2 years of 23, which I think is too expensive for him. Blake Trinan, who's off an injury.
That's the guy.
Him being a 1 year, $10 million guy.
I would do that in a second. And there's another guy I would back him up with.
And that other guy, they're estimating him at $11 million a year, and he's an old friend.
David Robertson.
Yeah. And I was pushing for him to deal for him during the season. But if they were to sign just Hoffman, Trinan, and Robertson, 3 guys that would be high leverage guys for them.
Oh, that would be fantastic.
Right. And they need 3 guys. Between the 3 of them, they would make 13, 10, 23, and 12. They'd make $35 million.
And they're all short term.
And they're all, Hoffman would be 3 years, and he'd be the long one because the other 2 guys would be 1 year.
Instead of Hoffman, you know who I might go after? AJ Minter.
I looked at that. AJ Minter's not a bad idea.
I would take one lefty of the 3. If you're going to sign 3, sign a lefty.
There's a couple of relievers that are out there that I do like. AJ Minter was one of them, as well as I just like saying Jalen Beeks because of the trading prices. But I don't really think they should bring him in.
Terrible, but all right.
I just like his name.
Yeah. But he's hittable, though. I mean, Minter.
Yeah, I don't like Beeks. I just like his name.
Okay.
So, and then another guy they could bring in that would be very inexpensive that I know you like, that I don't particularly like, but would be a left-hander, would be Chafin.
I do like Chafin. I was looking at him, so I do like Chafin. No, he'd be very inexpensive. He's got some guts. I mean, I know he doesn't. He's had a decent career. I know the last year wasn't great, but Chafin, a guy like Minter, if you're going to sign 3, you got to get at least 1 lefty.
And I wouldn't mind bringing back Hill.
I would like to bring him back also.
So I mean, but then you still got to have those guys. Then you need those high leverage guys, and I think that's where they need to spend the money, because I think you're going to need high leverage guys for 4 innings in several games. And I would say in 2 games a week, you're going to need high leverage guys for 4 innings. Where your starter's only going 5, but he's effective. But 94 pitches for 5 innings. Heel and Rodon specifically, maybe even Schmidt. Twice a week, you're going to need 4 innings out of high leverage relievers, and that means you're going to need anywhere from 4 to 6 of them. And with Efros, Leiter, and the 3 of these guys, you've got 5 of them.
If you're going to bring Robertson and Trinan in, I would actually move Weaver back to his hybrid role. I mean, the 8th inning.
Right. Oh, that Weaver's the other guy, so they'd have 6.
Yeah.
If I was bringing in Trinan, I would actually do sort of what Boone was doing before Weaver took control. Is I would not necessarily have a closer, I would look at what's coming up, like Billy Martin's situation. Look at what's coming up and say, okay, I need Weaver to get these 3 guys out in the 8th inning, and Trinan can close on the weaker hitters. Or if Trinan's going better, have Trinan be pitching in the 8th inning against the 3, 4, 5 hitters, and let Weaver close against the 7, 8, 9 hitters. Like I would do something like that. Decide who your hot pitcher is, and make sure he's pitching in the inning where the best hitters of the other team are batting, like you do it in the playoffs. And that's why I would have as many as 6. I guess you gotta have 6 high leverage guys and 2 guys that are not high leverage but multi-inning, and that's where I would have Warren and Leiter. And
Or you might have Stroman there, because again, Stroman's innings are going to be limited.
I know.
Yeah.
All right. So we went through everything. We do have one other comment, and I told Adam I was going to play it, but I'll play it now that Adam's gone. It's from Jamie, and we can both make quick comments on this. Oh, by the way, before we get to this, what do you think of that rumor about Justin Verlander at $15 million for 1 year?
I'll never underestimate Verlander, but unfortunately, it's 7 or 8 years too late. Let's put it that way.
I know. I don't hate him, but I don't think you could have him and Stroman on the same team.
You can't. I mean, the problem because Verlander was very hittable last year, and he lost 2 or 3 miles an hour off his fastball. So
but he's going to be a year removed from his surgery, so
that's true too. I mean,
but I would trust Verlander more than I would Stroman.
Oh, 100%.
But you can't have Stroman at 18 and Verlander at 15 because you can only really have one of those guys.
If they can trade Stroman, then I'm all for it. It's not a terrible move for 1 year.
Which would be possibly Stroman and Peraza to somebody for a mid-level, high upside prospect, and maybe the Yankees eat some money. Anyhow, so let's get to Jamie Schneider's comment, and then we'll say goodnight after that. We'll talk about it and then say goodnight.
Did you guys hear? Dave Sims is coming in to replace Sterling. It's the old Mariners play-by-play guy. He's very good. He's very good.
It's nice of him to tell us something that everybody knew in August. If he's just hearing it now, I'm very disappointed that a man at his age is not on social media to see this. So, as far as Dave Sims goes, love him.
Yeah.
Yes, Ricky Ricardo and the other guys got screwed on this deal. Ricky still got his Spanish broadcasting gig for the Yankees, and I do like Ricky, and I do like Shackley, and I do like all the guys that they rotated through. But Dave Sims is an original FAN host way back when they first came into play. He is just fantastic, and he's a New Yorker.
He's an East Coast guy. I think he's from Philadelphia, but still is an East Coast guy.
Yes, he's from Philly.
So there you go.
But he spent so many years of his career in New York.
Yes, he did.
So he's just fantastic. And I do love him. And he's not going to be there long term because he's up there in age too. But I do love him. But it was nice of Jamie to chime in on that when we talked about it, 4 months ago.
That was Mermel Svance Jr.
Mermel Svance Jr. Yeah, Marble Dick Jr. All right, Kramer, it's been a pleasure as always.
The pleasure has been yours.
A little longer than our normal hour, but I think we had to. And, we got rid of Adam, so that's good.
Yep.
I will be posting this, as everybody knows. It will be available on our Mic'd Up app in the previously section within the next hour. And once I get the copy of it, I will be posting it on YouTube on our Coast2Coast, Yankees Coast2Coast YouTube channel. Trademark pending. And we will be posting it around social media as well. And because Kramer gets a large following at the Yankee Fantasy Campsite, we will make sure to post it there.
Yep.
Thank you to everybody who joined us today. Webby, Todd Miller, Rich Weil, Jamie Schneider, and especially Steve Carroll. Good night, everybody. See you next time.